While they drank champagne, I stopped a war.
I'm Daniel Mitchell, 43, and I need to get this off my chest because what happened last weekend still feels like something out of a movie. Right now, I'm questioning every life choice that led me to this godforsaken moment. Here I am, standing near the back of this overpriced hotel ballroom like some kind of wedding crasher. Except I'm actually supposed to be here. Lucky me, right? The ballroom screams money in the most obnoxious way possible. Crystal chandeliers that probably cost more than my annual salary hang from the ceiling like glittering reminders of wealth. Imported marble floors click annoyingly under every step, and there's enough gold trim throughout the place to make a pharaoh jealous. Everything about this venue is designed to make you feel either incredibly important or like complete garbage. Guess which category I'm falling into tonight? I'm nursing a Coke that tastes flat and warm, probably because I've been holding it for the past hour like some kind of security blanket. The ice melted ages ago, but at least it gives my hands something to do besides ball into fists. I watch my wife Sarah from across the room, and damn if she doesn't look like she belongs here perfectly. She's practically glowing in that designer dress, the midnight blue number that cost more than most people's rent. I worked overtime for 3 months to afford that dress, along with the matching shoes, jewelry, purse, and whatever the hell she did to her hair that cost more than my monthly car payment. She's sitting pretty at the head table like she was born for this exact moment, right next to the man of the hour himself. Robert Hastings, my father-in-law, the almighty CEO of Hastings Freight Solutions, a company that somehow makes billions moving stuff from point A to point B. Robert's one of those guys who fills a room just by breathing, tall, silver-haired, with a voice that could probably be heard in the parking lot without a microphone. He's got that CEO swagger down to a science, the kind that makes everyone else feel like they should be taking notes on his every word. Tonight's some kind of company anniversary bash mixed with a family celebration. Honestly, I stopped paying attention to the details after Sarah explained it to me for the 3rd time. All I know is that Robert's been holding court for the better part of 2 hours, telling story after story about the Hastings family legacy. Every tale is more epic than the last, according to him. How his grandfather started the company with nothing but grit and determination. How his father expanded it nationwide. How Robert himself took it global and revolutionized the logistics industry. It's like listening to someone narrate their own highlight reel, complete with dramatic pauses and meaningful looks. The crowd eats it up, of course. 300 of Robert's closest friends, business associates, and A-kissers hanging on every word like he's delivering the Gettysburg Address. They laugh at his jokes, and trust me, Robert's not exactly George Carlin. They nod appreciatively at his wisdom, and they practically applaud when he takes a sip of his scotch. I've been to enough of these dog and pony shows to know the drill. Robert loves being the center of attention, almost as much as he loves reminding everyone else where they stand in his personal hierarchy. And tonight, apparently, it's my turn to get schooled. Looking around this room, I see faces I recognize but don't really know. Robert's business associates with their practiced smiles and firm handshakes that feel like business negotiations. Sarah's sorority sisters who still act like they're planning rush week instead of living actual adult lives. Various Hastings family members who've never quite figured out what to make of me. There's a depressing uniformity to the whole scene, like someone ordered successful people from a catalog, and this is what showed up. Robert's business associates are scattered throughout the room like well-dressed landmines, each one more eager than the last to kiss the ring and secure their place in the Hastings freight hierarchy. They've got that corporate hunter look down to a science, sharp suits, sharper smiles, and conversations that sound like performances, everyone dropping names and accomplishments like they're reading from prepared scripts. I watch them work the room with the efficiency of seasoned politicians, always positioning themselves where Robert might notice them. Then, there are Sarah's sorority sisters who somehow managed to freeze themselves in time somewhere around their junior year of college. They still travel in packs, still finish each other's sentences, and still act like the rest of the world exists solely for their entertainment. Tonight, they're clustered near the bar, gossiping about people who aren't here and comparing notes on their various romantic disasters. Emma, the one who works for some PR firm and never lets anyone forget it, keeps gesturing wildly with her cocktail while explaining why her latest campaign is revolutionary. Jessica, who married an investment banker and treats it like a full-time job, is showing off photos of their latest vacation to the Bahamas while making subtle digs about people who can't afford to travel internationally. They wave at Sarah occasionally, these walking reminders of her past life, but there's something different in their dynamic now. Sarah's married, which in their world means she's either won the game or settled for less, depending on who you ask. And judging by the way they glance in my direction when they think I'm not looking, they've definitely landed on the settled for less side of that equation. It starts innocent enough. Some guy in an expensive suit, probably another CEO or maybe a board member, mentions something about family and how important it is to have good people around you. The conversation naturally drifts towards Sarah and her recent marriage to yours truly. I can see it coming from a mile away, like watching a slow-motion car wreck. "Robert, you must be proud to have Daniel as part of the family," the guy says, raising his glass in what I assume is supposed to be a toast in my direction. That's when Robert does his thing. He waves his hand dismissively, like he's swatting away a fly or brushing off a piece of lint. The gesture is so casual, so effortless that you'd almost miss it if you weren't watching carefully. But I'm watching. I'm always watching. "Oh, Daniel," Robert chuckles. And I swear that laugh has its own echo in this cavernous room. "He's just a security guard." Just like that. 4 words. "He's just a security guard," said with the same tone you might use to describe the weather or comment on the hotel's mediocre appetizers. Not mean exactly, not cruel, just dismissive. Like I'm some kind of background character in the Grand Robert Hastings show. The laughter that follows isn't mean-spirited either. It's worse. It's polite. The kind of polite laughter that people do when they want to acknowledge the joke without actually thinking about whether it's funny. 300 people chuckling at the idea that Robert Hastings' daughter married down. Way down. But here's the kicker. Sarah doesn't defend me. Hell, she doesn't even look uncomfortable. Instead, she smirks. Actually smirks, like Robert just said something cleverly witty instead of reducing her husband to a punchline. That little smile of hers cuts deeper than Robert's dismissal ever could. And just like that, I disappear. Right there in a room packed with 300 people, wearing a tuxedo that cost me 3 months of overtime, holding a warm Coke and watching my wife laugh at her father's casual character assassination, I become invisible. But you know what? Let them think what they want. Let Robert wave me off like I'm some kind of inconvenience. Let Sarah smirk at her daddy's jokes. Let this whole room full of people believe that Daniel Mitchell is just a security guard who got lucky and married rich, because they have absolutely no idea who they're really dealing with. Here's what none of them know, what my wife doesn't know, what Robert definitely doesn't know. They all believe I work low-level federal security at the Department of Transportation, some boring desk job pushing papers and checking IDs, maybe doing background checks on potential employees or making sure people aren't stealing office supplies. The kind of job that pays the bills but doesn't exactly set the world on fire. Government work, stable, predictable, and mind-numbingly unglamorous. The truth is so much more complicated than any of them could possibly imagine. For the past 18 years, 18 goddamn years, I've been working for a federal intelligence agency as a field operative. Not some paper-pushing desk jockey at the Department of Transportation like everyone thinks. Not some rent-a-cop checking badges at government buildings. I'm talking about the real deal here. The kind of job that comes with security clearances so high, they have their own security clearances. My official title, when I'm allowed to use it in the right rooms with the right people, is Senior Counterterrorism Operations Specialist. It's the kind of job where your success is measured by the disasters that don't happen, the headlines that never get written, and the phone calls that panicked government officials never have to make at 3 a.m. While Robert's been moving packages from warehouse to warehouse and patting himself on the back for his logistical genius, I've been moving through shadows, dismantling threats that would make his corporate problems look like kindergarten playground drama. Corporate espionage, that's Tuesday for me. International terrorism, just another day at the office. Cyber warfare, child's play compared to some of the stuff I've dealt with. And for the past 10 months, 10 long, exhausting, life-consuming months, I've been leading something called Operation Blackwater. It's the kind of operation that gets its own code name and briefing rooms in buildings that don't officially exist on any government map. An international operation targeting a tech terrorism ring that's been funding domestic attacks across 4 continents. This wasn't some Hollywood movie bullcrap either. This was real, methodical, dangerous work that required the kind of patience and precision that would make a Swiss watchmaker weep with envy. We're talking about a network of tech-savvy terrorists who figured out how to fund their operations by hacking financial institutions, stealing cryptocurrency, and selling state secrets to the highest bidders. Just 5 days ago, while Sarah was probably getting her nails done for tonight's little celebration, I was returning from an offshore extraction mission that would give most people nightmares for the rest of their lives. A cargo ship in international waters, rough seas, and a target who'd rather die than get captured. The hacking networks alone took 20 months to fully map and infiltrate. These guys weren't using some basic phishing scams or simple password attacks. They had custom-built malware, zero-day exploits that cost more than most people's houses, and encryption protocols that would make the NSA jealous. And the firefights. Jesus Christ, the firefights. There's nothing quite like the sound of automatic weapons fire echoing off shipping containers while you're trying to coordinate a tactical breach in the middle of the night. Nothing like watching tracer rounds light up the darkness while you're praying that your body armor is rated for whatever the hell these guys are shooting at you. But we got them. All of them. The whole network. From the bottom-level money launderers to the top-tier masterminds who thought they were untouchable. Bank accounts frozen. Safe houses raided, communication networks dismantled, and enough evidence gathered to keep federal prosecutors busy for the next decade. 2 years of my life disappeared into that operation. 2 years of missing family dinners, social events, and normal human interactions because I was busy being someone else somewhere else, doing things that I'll never be able to talk about at cocktail parties. But then there's Alex Rodriguez, and just seeing his face across the room makes this whole nightmare slightly more bearable. Alex has been my best friend since our training days back when we were both young, stupid, and convinced we were going to save the world single-handedly. He works as a State Department liaison now, which is basically diplomatic speak for guy who knows everybody's secrets but can't talk about any of them. Alex gives me a subtle nod from across the room, and I can see the amusement in his eyes. He knows exactly what kind of hell I'm going through tonight, and he's probably enjoying the show more than he should. The man's got a front row seat to watch me suffer through another evening of being treated like Sarah's charity case husband. We trained together at Quantico, survived the same impossible instructors, and spent more nights than I care to remember in situations where trusting each other was literally a matter of life and death. Alex knows everything about Operation Blackwater, about my real job, about the fact that I could probably buy and sell half the people in this room if I wanted to liquidate the right offshore accounts. I'm getting lost in my own thoughts when I feel my phone buzz in my jacket pocket. The vibration is sharp and insistent, cutting through the ambient noise of forced laughter and clinking glasses. I pull it out discreetly, expecting maybe a work emergency or some spam text. Instead, there's a message from Alex. Just one line, but it makes my blood run cold. "Danny, turn on Channel 7 now." I look up and catch his eye across the room. He's not smiling anymore. His expression is serious, focused, the same look he used to get during briefings when something big was about to go down. This isn't a joke, isn't some random suggestion. This is Alex telling me that whatever's happening on Channel 7 right now is something I need to see immediately. My hands are actually shaking as I slip out of the ballroom, trying to look casual while my heart is doing its best impression of a jackhammer. The message from Alex keeps flashing in my mind like a neon sign. In our line of work, urgent messages about watching the news usually mean someone screwed up royally, covers got blown, or operations went sideways in spectacular fashion. The hotel lounge is just off the main ballroom, one of those upscale spaces designed for people who want to escape the party without actually leaving the venue. Perfect. The lounge is mostly empty, except for a few stragglers nursing expensive drinks and having the kind of hushed conversations that rich people think pass for intimate. There's a massive flat screen mounted on the far wall, currently showing some mindless reality show about people buying houses they can't afford. I find the remote behind the bar and start flipping channels, my palms getting sweatier with each click. Channel 7 is the local news station, the kind of place that usually covers city council meetings, high school football games, and the occasional feel-good story about rescued puppies. Not exactly the venue for breaking international intelligence news, which makes Alex's message even more confusing and terrifying. I find Channel 7 just as they're cutting back from a commercial break. The news anchor is one of those perfectly polished women who looks like she was manufactured in a television studio, not a hair out of place, teeth so white they could probably be seen from space, and the kind of professional smile that never quite reaches her eyes. "Good evening, I'm Rebecca Martinez with Channel 7 News," she says in that overly dramatic voice that news anchors must practice in the mirror. We're continuing our coverage of today's major breaking story that has national security implications. National security implications. My stomach drops about 3 floors. This can't be good. Earlier today, federal authorities confirmed the successful conclusion of a major international operation targeting cyber terrorism and domestic security threats. Oh, crap. Oh, crap, crap, crap. The operation, known as Operation Blackwater, has resulted in the arrest of 23 suspects and the complete dismantling of what officials are calling a billion-dollar cyber espionage network that posed significant threats to American interests both domestic and abroad. I feel like I'm watching my life explode in real time, broadcast in high definition for anyone with a television to see. Operation Blackwater was supposed to be classified at levels that would make top secret look like a casual suggestion. Sources within the intelligence community tell Channel 7 that this network was responsible for funding multiple terrorist attacks across 4 continents and had been operating undetected for nearly 6 years. Then she says something that makes my blood freeze in my veins. Leading this complex international operation was senior counterterrorism specialist Daniel Mitchell, whose leadership and undercover infiltration capabilities were instrumental to the mission's ultimate success. The room starts spinning, actually spinning, like I'm on some kind of demented carnival ride. My name. She just said my name on television. On the freaking evening news. The same name that's printed on the invitation that brought 300 people to this hotel tonight. But it gets worse. They show a photo. My photo. Not some generic surveillance shot or blurry, candid image that might be me if you squinted really hard. This is a professional Department of Homeland Security photograph showing me in full tactical gear, radio headset in one ear, looking every inch the federal operative that I actually am. Walking back into that ballroom feels like walking into my own execution. Every step feels heavy, deliberate, like I'm marching towards some kind of inevitable reckoning that I'm not even remotely prepared for. The ballroom looks exactly the same as when I left it 10 minutes ago, but somehow everything feels completely different. I can see Robert from across the room, still holding court at the head table like the king of his own little corporate kingdom. He's in the middle of another one of his legendary stories, probably something about a business deal that changed the world. Sarah is still sitting beside him, still looking like she stepped out of a magazine, still playing the role of the perfect daughter. I make my way through the crowd, trying to look normal, trying to act like I haven't just watched my entire cover identity get blown to smithereens on the evening news. People are still chatting, still networking, still doing all the things that rich people do at expensive parties. Nobody seems to have noticed that their host's son-in-law just became the lead story on Channel 7. Robert's winding up for another toast. Of course he is. The man treats every social gathering like it's his personal TED Talk. "Ladies and gentlemen," Robert announces, raising his scotch glass high enough that everyone in the room can see it. "Before we wrap up this wonderful evening, I'd like to raise one more toast. Here we go. I can feel it coming like a freight train. Robert's about to take another shot at me. And let's raise a glass to our new son-in-law," Robert continues, his voice dripping with that same condescending tone. "Daniel works in, well, security. He guards offices, I think." There it is. Round 2 of the Robert Hastings Comedy Hour, featuring Daniel Mitchell as the punchline. The laughter starts immediately, just like before. 300 people chuckling politely at the idea that Robert Hastings' daughter married so far below her station. But then, something happens that I definitely wasn't expecting. From somewhere across the room, probably near the bar where all the younger crowd has been hanging out, comes a voice that cuts through Robert's moment like a knife through butter. Holy crap, he's on the news! The effect is immediate and electric. Conversations stop mid-sentence. Every head in the room turns toward whoever just dropped that particular bombshell. Some of them are already pulling out their phones, that modern reflex that happens whenever someone mentions something newsworthy. The phones come out like a coordinated military operation. Suddenly half the room is staring at their screens, fingers flying as they try to find whatever news story just turned Robert's toast into ancient history. Then I hear it. Rebecca Martinez's voice coming from multiple phones as people find the live stream. Senior counterterrorism specialist Daniel Mitchell, whose 18-year career includes multiple classified operations protecting American interests. Every single head in the room turns toward me. The silence that follows is absolutely deafening. 300 people who were just laughing at Robert's little joke about his security guard son-in-law are now staring at me like I just sprouted wings. Sarah's face has gone through about 17 different expressions in the span of 10 seconds. She's leaning toward her father, and I can see her mouth moving, but no sound is coming out. Robert looks like he just watched his entire worldview collapse in real time. The man who spent years treating me like an inconvenient piece of furniture is now staring at his phone screen with the kind of expression usually reserved for people who just discovered their house is on fire. Someone figured out how to cast their phone screen to one of the hotel's display monitors. Suddenly, Rebecca Martinez's perfectly made-up face is projected on a screen the size of a small movie theater, her voice filling the ballroom through the hotel sound system. Mitchell, who has received multiple commendations for federal security operations over his 18-year career, is expected to meet with the National Security Council next week to brief senior officials on the operation's success. 18 years, multiple commendations, National Security Council. Each phrase hits the room like a physical blow. That's when I hear it, the sharp, crystalline sound that somehow manages to cut through all the electronic noise and shocked whispers. It's the sound of Sarah's champagne glass slipping from her fingers and hitting the marble floor. The crystal explodes against the stone like a small bomb, sending shards scattering in a perfect circle around her chair. Robert's reaction is even more spectacular. His Scotch glass, the expensive crystal tumbler he's been waving around all night like a prop, slips from his fingers in what feels like slow motion. It hits the floor with a sound like a bang, exploding into 1,000 pieces that spread across the marble like golden confetti. You know what? Screw it. I've spent 18 years keeping my mouth shut, years listening to Robert's dismissive bullcrap, and one entire evening being treated like the help at my own family celebration. I walked straight to the center of the ballroom, right into the middle of all those shocked faces and dropped jaws. No hesitation, no second guessing. The crowd parts like I'm Moses walking through the Red Sea, except instead of water, it's a bunch of rich people who suddenly can't figure out where to look. I don't need a microphone. The acoustics in this overpriced ballroom are perfect, and right now you could hear a pin drop from the parking lot. I've worked for 18 years in operations that can't be shared over family dinner. Not because I'm ashamed, because I'm under oath. I let that sink in for a second, watching faces change as the implications hit them. You all spent tonight calling me a nobody, but I've stopped bombing plots. I've protected schools and cities you never even knew were at risk. Now I turn to look directly at Robert, who's still standing there like a deer in headlights, surrounded by broken glass and the ruins of his perfect evening. You said I guard buildings, Robert. I pause, letting the moment stretch out, letting him squirm a little under the weight of 300 pairs of eyes. I guard the country. The silence that follows is different from before. This isn't the shocked, confused silence of people trying to process unexpected information. This is the heavy, uncomfortable silence of people who just realized they've been complete a-holes to someone who could probably have them all investigated by Tuesday morning. From somewhere in the back of the room, I hear Alex's familiar voice cut through the silence. To Daniel. Simple, direct, absolutely perfect. And slowly, like dominoes falling in reverse, other people start raising their glasses. But I don't need their applause. I didn't spend 18 years risking my life for recognition at cocktail parties. I did it because I believe in service. Real service. The kind that happens in shadows and briefing rooms and places that don't exist on any official maps. As I'm making my way toward the exit, Sarah finally finds her voice. She calls my name from across the room, her tone carrying that particular mix of desperation and confusion that means she's about to ask questions I'm not ready to answer. But I keep walking. The hotel parking lot is blissfully quiet. After hours of forced laughter and corporate small talk, the night air hits my face like a blessing. My phone buzzes as I'm walking toward my car. Another message from Alex. NSC wants briefing Monday. Great work on Blackwater. Proud of you. National Security Council, Monday morning. A meeting that's probably going to involve briefing some of the most powerful people in the country about an operation that technically doesn't exist and never happened. I slide into my car and sit there for a moment, engine off, just looking back at the hotel. Through the massive windows, I can see the ballroom still lit up like a Christmas tree, full of people who are probably going to be talking about tonight for years. Part of me wants to feel vindicated, wants to enjoy the satisfaction of watching their assumptions crumble in real time. And maybe I do a little bit. After years of being treated like Sarah's charity project and Robert's disappointment, there's definitely some sweet justice in the way this all played out. But mostly I just feel tired. Tired of maintaining covers, tired of living double lives. tired of pretending to be less than I am for the comfort of people who never bothered to look beneath the surface. Tomorrow, I'll deal with the fallout. Tonight, I finally told the truth. They saw me now, but the real joke is that I always knew exactly who I was. Sometimes the quiet guy in the corner has more stories than the loudest person in the room.